asking me about this. Frickin', come on. It's dead, okay? It's dead. We get it. Hello, lovelies. My name is Betsy, and today I'm going to show you how to divide a staghorn fern and how to mount a staghorn fern. Isn't that exciting? In my first episode of Funny You Would Ask, which is a series that I just recently created to answer 3 frequently asked questions in a one fell swoop with my co-host Frank, very, very sweet gentleman. If you're interested, go ahead and check that out. Anyway, I addressed the fact that the center staghorn fern in my installation has been dead for some time. He passed long ago. I would say like last winter. It took me a while to finally find a replacement for the staghorn fern. So that's why for so long I have had a dead crinkly staghorn fern in the background of my videos. I finally found this beast at my local greenhouse. And the thing is, it has 3 or 4 separate ferns within it. You know, it's growing from 3 or 4 different kind of offshoots. It has it's like a Medusa. So I thought to myself, all right, well, I can take that home and I can divide it, replace my old staghorn fern, and then everybody will be happy again. And I will have a nice, pretty staghorn fern on my wall, and people will stop asking me, what's the deal with the staghorn fern behind you? Am I pulling out my own hair? Am I losing hair? Happy birthday, you're 33! Where was I? It's so hot in here right now. All right, maybe I should I think I'm gonna put my hair back. So if you're here because you're needing to divide a staghorn fern, you'll really just need a sharp, sterilized knife. And as for mounting a staghorn fern, I'm not creating an entirely new mount today. I'm using the same exact mount. I mean, this is a perfectly good piece of wood. It's a perfectly good mount. There's no reason to change it, and it would look really weird if I used a completely different piece of wood. There is a video that I had used originally when I created these mounts. If I find that video, I'll link it down below, just in case you're worried about, you know, the initial steps of creating a staghorn fern mount. Because today I'm just removing this guy and putting a new guy on. And then for the actual mounting process, you will need some damp sphagnum moss. And you will also need a little bit of a really light, chunky potting mixture, because staghorn ferns are epiphytes. You know, beneath the sphagnum moss, there is a bit of potting mix for the actual roots of the plant to grow in. They naturally grow on the sides of trees, so using a really rich, heavy potting mix would be a huge mistake. I am using a mixture that I created myself, using a potting mix for houseplants that I bought at my local garden center. It's, you know, a bit of peat moss and compost and a little bit of perlite. Then I added more perlite. I added some coconut coir and orchid bark. And I almost forgot, you're going to need some either fishing line or a nylon thread. Let's take this fellow out of his pot so that we can see what kind of nightmare we're dealing with. It's like a really heavy potting mix. Ooh, wow, that's a lot of roots. Okay. This potting mix is so dense. The roots have gone through it, but there's no way to like break up the soil without ripping these roots. There's just no way. I'm just gonna cut it like this.
Oh my God!
Probably a lot of you are like, oh my God, did she just chop off the roots? But you know, that's the only way that, I mean, I would have ripped it. Why not use the sterile knife? But also you're going to need it to be a bit thinner and flatter in order to mount it, and it's going to make it easier to cut out all of these friends. First, I'm going to clean up this nightmare, and then we're going to get chopping. You have these like centers of growth. You see a bunch of leaves, not leaves, but fronds. These are fertile fronds. Fertile fronds coming out of a base, and if I can get in there, you can see that there is a basal frond in there. And then there is another center over here where fronds are growing out. This one, I think there are 4 here. No, this is just 1. Okay, I think there's 3. This is the first time I've ever divided a staghorn fern, but I looked at videos and I read tutorials online, and it's pretty much just like a brutal process. You're going to stress the plant out. You're gonna chop it in half, and that's just, it's inevitable that it's a bit brutal, and you just gotta deal with it. Don't let me have it in the comments here, okay? I'm doing what I learned. I'm doing as I saw. So this is how it's done, all right? I'm just going to take this knife and cut around the base of this fern here on this side of this plant. Okay, I'm gonna start in here and cut away. You know, you wanna leave as much space as you can around the fern, but when they're, you know, packed in like this, it's hard to not cut really close. Okay, I think we got him, and we can just rip him off. There we go. There is one fern. One fern. There you go. That's how you do. That's how we did done. That's how we done it. And then there's two more here. I'll go ahead and do it just to show. You have one here, and you have another here. So I'm just gonna slice down the center, really, try to avoid this basil frond, and separate these two. And then I can put them somewhere, I don't know. I'll figure that out after this video. You see this one? You can see his basil fronds. This is what they use to kind of adhere to the tree. And then these are the fertile fronds. So I'm gonna remove these two boys. I'm gonna put them back in their pot for now. I'll deal with you guys later. So the first thing we're gonna do is dismount this staghorn fern. So I'm just, I don't know, there's like nylon thread. Now you're gonna be able to see how I made this mount. By the way, this is called glued laminated timber. It's a special type of wood. I get a lot of people telling me that the wood they've mounted their staghorn fern on is starting to mold or show signs of mildew and stuff. This has never done that. It's been treated in some way, so I don't know. I don't know anything about wood. I chose this at random. I didn't know if it was going to mold or mildew or anything like that. I just went to the hardware store. I really wanted this type of wood. This is shen. What is shen in, isn't that oak? I think it's oak. Wood. You can see there's like no, ouch, I just hurt myself. How did I hurt myself on this? I mean, it's dry because you don't water dead plants, right? So it's very, very dry, and you can see there is some soil in there, but yeah, light as a feather, that is. Okay, see ya, bye. You can see that there are some screws here, and that's basically how I created my mount. I took a piece of wood and I put the back wire on it, and then I just screwed in some tiny screws. And that's it, that's how you prepare your mount, and then you mount your staghorn fern. So that's the step from which we are working today. Now, a lot of people ask about the direction that the fern should be facing. You know, you want to look at the basal fronds if it has them. Sometimes they're so young that they don't have any basal fronds. And I have read that you can mount it any way that you want, and it will eventually, you know, kind of like correct itself, and it will grow in the right direction. With this one, I guess I will probably mount it like this. So the first thing you want to do is put a little bit of wet sphagnum moss down on the board. And put your staghorn buddy on there. Then you're gonna give him some soil to grow in. So yeah, like I said, this is a really light mixture, and we're gonna put it around here. Get him, actually I should put some underneath. My cam 2 is on, right? Yeah. Makes me so mad when I get through like 5 minutes of talking and I realize I don't have cam 2 on at all. And then you're going to cover it with some more sphagnum moss. Damp sphagnum moss. It's much easier to work with if it's damp, obviously. And you're just gonna make sure you put some behind the plant, like back here. You want the whole thing surrounded in sphagnum moss, like really, really. I have a couple of staghorn fern videos. One of them is about staghorn ferns. So you can watch that if you are curious about them, what their care requirements are and things like that. Or I have another video that's just like a quick video of me watering the process that I go through to water my staghorn ferns. Because basically just like in the summer, for example, once a week, because it's much more dry, I have to take them off the wall, put them in the shower, and then I will, make it rain on my staghorn ferns for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then I will let them drip dry in the shower, and then I'll hang them back on the wall. I let them drip dry for like half an hour, 45 minutes, so that they don't, drip all over my wall or my couch. That's how I water my staghorn ferns. Some people prefer to dip their staghorn ferns entirely in water. You can do that if you want. I don't. I just water them, and then during the growing season, like once every 2 to 4 weeks, I will fertilize them, and I just use a regular houseplant fertilizer. I know some people like to suggest that you put banana peels behind the staghorn fern, like in the back of it against the wood. I think that's gross. I'm sorry, I think that's gross. Like whenever I have bananas, I have fruit flies, and I can't imagine how many fruit flies that would attract. Like first of all, the smell of a rotting banana is absolutely putrid. It's gross. And it's like here in my living room where I spend a lot of my time, or when I have people over, this is where we hang out. So the thought of having like rotten banana smell and fruit flies in my living room, not really appealing. So I don't do that. That's not my style. All right, I think he's good to go. He's just like a giant mound of sphagnum moss. This guy's gonna be happy. Okay, so you start by tying your nylon thread or your fishing line or whatever it is around one of these screws. Where do my screws go? And this is really, this isn't the easiest process in the world. This can be a little frustrating, getting the thread around all the screws. There's really no, special way to do it. I tie it around the first screw like a million times because I really want it to hold. And then I cut off the excess. Okay, now you're going to take your thread, and as tightly as you can, you're going to, this is why I have put this off for a while, because I remember how aggravating it was to do this in the first place. Let me find another screw. There's gonna be another screw on the other side, and you're gonna pull that nylon thread as tightly as you can down against the sphagnum moss. I'm sorry that I'm talking this way. It's because I'm incapable of doing 2 things at once. And the really fun thing is that it doesn't like to stay on the screw. Okay, and then you're going to crisscross it down onto another screw. If you can, where's the other screw? Okay, here's one. Kind of pull it as tight as you can and then loop it around that screw. I'm gonna see if I can get a close-up of that, but I hate this! I hate doing this, I really do. I'm having flashbacks to all the curse words that I had said before. I'm gonna play this part at hyper speed. But basically you're just taking the nylon thread and you're putting it from screw to screw to screw. There's no, special pattern you need to adhere to. Eventually you're just gonna have enough nylon thread crisscrossing over the sphagnum moss in every direction that it's going to hold the entire thing in place. That's the objective. Good luck. Good luck, friend. Okay, that's done. It actually didn't take me as long as I thought that it would when I first started. The first 2 screws were really hard. Okay, so then, you hold it up and it doesn't go anywhere. Isn't that great? It's secure. But then the little issue that you'll have is that you can see the screws. You can still see the screws and you can see the nylon thread coming from the screws. So just take a little bit of wet sphagnum moss and tuck it in there. Tuck it in and around there to kind of hide the thread and hide the screws. There you go, see? No more screw. Wow, amazing, it's gone. And there you have your beautifully mounted staghorn fern. That's how you divide a staghorn fern, and that's how you mount a staghorn fern. It's, you know, pretty easy, aside from those first few screws, and you put that nylon thread on there and you just feel like losing your mind. You feel like a nutcase. But after a little bit, it gets easier. Tell me what you think about staghorn ferns. I'm really curious because some people love them, some people absolutely detest them. Some people think they're one of the ugliest plants they've ever seen. And that's kind of what I thought at first. But for me, they kind of add like this little bit of like asymmetrical funkiness that I need in my life. Like my interior design taste is usually pretty symmetrical. I like things to be orderly and organized and clean. And the staghorn ferns kind of just add this element of like funk to my living room, and I just really love that. So they have really, you know, grown on me or whatever. But I would like to know what you think about staghorn ferns, if you have one or if you know, will never ever have one. I want to say thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. I really hope that you learned something or that this was at least a little bit interesting or entertaining for you. If you have any comments or questions, leave it down below and I'll get back to you when I can. And you know, if you want to support me, support this channel and what I do, feel free to check out my Patreon. The link is down below in the description. I really appreciate any little bit because it, you know, it helps me get closer and closer to doing YouTube full time. So thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you soon. I'd like to thank my $10 patrons Joanne Burke, Anthony Rankin, Frederick Bowman, Rebecca Rippert, Emily, Carolyn Green, and Jake Kennedy. My $5 patrons Lil Miss, Noted All, Deidre Daly, Billy Moore, Michelle Arnwine, Maggie, Jerry Parker, Abby Clark, Kathy L, Leah A, Miranda Moyer, Laura Wright, Thunder Lamb, Haley, Shannon Spaniel, Romina Reyes, Chai Guy, Giselle Dow, Adam Banzoff, Elizabeth Murray, Aaron Meow, and Kayla Mann. My $2 patrons Karen, Georgia Thomas, Abigail Colin, Renee Allen, Martha Childress, Adam B, Hannah Gukla, Steve A, and Pamela. My $1 patrons James Kopp, Gracie, Giovanni Loways, Rocco, Stephanie P, Michelle A, Lita Anastasia, Cassandra Lewis, Michelle Mikens, Jenna Sethman, Charlotte Dawson, Jessie Sophia, JJ Garibay, Isabel Langlois, Elizabeth Velasquez, Kara Freeman, Wanyang Zhang, Elizabeth Mary, Josie, Sophia Clark, Michael Miner, Valhalla Fiasco, Jordan Jepson, Kayla Davenport, Lisa, Nicholas Curtis, Lexi Haynes, Eliza Matiauda, Melissa Monstera, Linda Thea, Kristen Bjordal, Megan McConville, Claire Buck, Meg, Aria Putanen, Claire, Lynn, and Denise Grimm. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.